I've lived in the same house in Akron, Ohio since I was born. It's this old, creaky two-story thing with mint green siding, a crooked porch, and a basement that always smells like damp newspapers. My parents call it vintage. I call it a haunted shoebox. Last November, my parents went to visit my grandma in Pennsylvania. She was having some surgery, and they figured I was old enough to stay home alone for the weekend. I was 17. I wanted the house to myself. I said I'd be fine. I wasn't. The first night was quiet. I ordered pizza, watched dumb horror movies, and texted my friend Abby until I passed out on the couch. At some point around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something moving downstairs. Not footsteps exactly, more like a dull, dragging sound. I sat up, my heart hammering. The living room was dark except for the soft blue glow of the paused TV screen. I muted it and listened. Nothing, just the heater clicking, maybe a pipe settling. I told myself it was nothing, turned the TV off, and went upstairs. Still, I locked my bedroom door, just in case. Saturday morning, I came downstairs to make cereal and found the basement door open, just a crack. Now, our basement door sticks like crazy. You have to put your shoulder into it to open or close it fully. And I knew I hadn't touched it the night before. I stared at that gap for a long time. Then, like an idiot in a horror movie, I walked over and slowly pulled it shut until I heard the latch click. I didn't look down the stairs. Didn't want to. That afternoon, Abby came over. We hung out in my room, did our nails, talked about this guy she liked. I told her about the basement door, expecting her to laugh. She didn't. Instead, she said, "Lindsay, you ever hear of that guy who lived in someone's attic for like weeks?" They didn't even know until stuff started disappearing. I stared at her. Thanks for that comforting thought. She just shrugged. Before she left, we both checked the basement door. Still closed. Still latched. That night, it happened again. Around 2:45 a.m. I heard it. Movement. This time, I was sure it was coming from the basement. A soft thump. Then another. It sounded like someone was slowly walking up the stairs. I stared at the ceiling from my bed, frozen. I didn't move. Didn't even breathe. The sound stopped. I stayed awake until the sun came up, heart pounding in my ears the whole time. When I finally worked up the courage to go downstairs, the basement door was wide open. Not cracked. Not swinging. Wide. Open. I called my dad. He told me it was probably the old hinges. Maybe a draft. "Just leave a chair against it tonight," he said. "The latch probably just slipped." Yeah, a draft. That walks upstairs. Still, I didn't want to freak them out when they were dealing with Grandma, so I lied and said it was fine. But I didn't feel fine. That day, I went to close the basement door again, but before I could touch it, I noticed something on the floor. Footprints. Not muddy exactly, but darker. Damp. Bare feet. Not mine. They came up from the basement, across the kitchen floor, and stopped right at the fridge, like whoever was got a snack. I checked the fridge. There were 3 string cheese wrappers in the trash I didn't remember throwing away. I wanted to scream. Instead, I ran upstairs, locked my door, and called the police. 2 officers came. I told them everything. They looked around. One of them, Officer Gibbons, walked down into the basement while the others stayed with me. He came back 10 minutes later with a flashlight in his hand and a weird look on his face. "There's a cot down there," he said. "A sleeping bag. Empty food wrappers. Old cereal boxes. Someone's been living here." They searched the place, attic to basement. No one. I felt sick. They said whoever was probably used the back door and ran when I made noise. Told me to stay with a neighbor for the night. I went to Abby's. I couldn't sleep. The next day, Dad and Mom drove home early. Dad was angry, mostly at himself. We changed the locks, installed new deadbolts. Dad even boarded up the basement door temporarily with 2 thick wood panels. He said, "No one's getting in or out through there now." I believed him. Until Monday night. I was in bed, reading, when I heard something strange. A tap, tap, tap coming from my closet. It's an old house. No built-in closets. Just a weird little crawl closet tucked in the corner with a wooden door and no light inside. The tapping came again. Then I heard it. A whisper. Close. Right behind the wall. "Lindsay." I bolted out of my room and screamed for my dad. He ran in, opened the closet, checked inside. Nothing. But I knew what I heard. We called the police again. This time, they did a full inspection of the basement and discovered something we never thought to check. A small panel in the wall behind the water heater. It led to a narrow, dusty space barely 2 feet wide. Old pipes, cobwebs, insulation, and a man, curled up inside. He'd been hiding there the whole time. His name was Curtis Darnell, mid-30s, homeless, had been sneaking into our basement for almost a month after finding a broken window around back that we hadn't noticed. He came up only when we were asleep or when my parents were gone. He used our food, watched our TV when I was at school. He'd even been charging an old flip phone using our basement outlet. He told police he liked pretending to have a home again. They arrested him, took him away. He didn't resist. But the thing that still makes my blood run cold, when they asked him how many times he'd come upstairs, he said, "Just a few. I didn't want to scare her. She seemed nice. Sometimes I watch her sleep. Like a daughter." We sealed the basement, got motion detectors. My parents even installed security cameras inside the house. But to this day, I still can't sleep in silence. I need noise, TV, music, something, because silence means I can hear the house breathing. And sometimes, I still hear footsteps from behind the basement door, even though it's been nailed shut. When I was 14, I thought monsters were just in movies. I thought being scared meant turning off a video game or walking past a graveyard. But that winter, I learned something different. Monsters are real. They don't hide under your bed. They hide inside your house. My mom worked night shifts at the hospital in Springfield, Illinois. She's a nurse, tough, practical, always tired. Since I was in 8th grade and mature for my age, she started leaving me home alone a few nights a week. I didn't mind, at least not at first. The house we lived in wasn't big. A narrow rental, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small living room. What made it weird was the vents. They were old, loud, ran through every room like veins under the walls. When the heat kicked on, it sounded like whispers echoing through the grates. That's what I thought it was. At first, one Thursday in January, I was home alone. It was cold, like breath in the air, inside the house cold. I was wrapped in 2 blankets, gaming in the living room, when I heard it, a scraping sound, like fingernails on metal. I muted the TV. It stopped. I leaned over and looked at the vent behind a couch. It was one of those old rectangular ones with slats wide enough to drop a pencil through. Nothing looked out of place. I figured it was the heater, turned the volume back up, and forgot about it. But that night, just before bed, I heard it again, coming from the vent near the bathroom floor. Longer this time. Scrape, scrape, scratch. It sounded like something was crawling through the duct. I bent down and peered inside. Just darkness and dust. Then, I swear I heard a breath. Soft, wet, and a giggle. I jumped back so fast I smacked my head on the wall. The next day, I told Mom. She smiled. "Mice," she said. "This place is ancient. They probably live in the vents." That would have made sense if the sounds didn't follow me. That weekend, no matter where I was in the house, I'd hear something in the walls, always near the vents. And sometimes, I'd find the grates slightly moved, tilted, loosened. One even fell off the wall in the hallway and clattered to the floor like it had been pushed. By Monday, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie in bed with the lights on, eyes locked on the vent across the room. And every now and then, I'd hear it, a whisper, only once, but I'll never forget it. "Noah," like a voice trying to say my name through a mouth full of spit. Tuesday night, it escalated. I was brushing my teeth, door open, when I noticed movement from the hallway. Something shifting, just a flicker. I walked out, toothbrush still in my mouth, and looked down the hall. Nothing. Then I saw it. The vent cover near the baseboard was swinging slightly, like someone had just pulled their hand away. I dropped my toothbrush and backed into the bathroom, slamming the door. I sat there for an hour, heart hammering in my chest, staring at the vent near the floor. The silence was worse than the noise. The next morning, Mom said I was just overtired. "You're working yourself up," she said. She promised to call an exterminator, but he didn't come until Thursday, and by then, it had gotten worse. Wednesday night, I stayed up. I set up my phone in the hallway, propped against a cereal box. It faced the vent that had been moving the most. I let it record overnight. In the morning, I checked the footage. At 3:17 a.m., the vent shifted, just a little. Then a hand reached out. Pale, thin, dirty fingernails. It gripped the edge of the vent and pulled back. Then a face. For a second, wide eyes, grinning mouth. Then it vanished. I dropped my phone. I didn't go to school. I couldn't. I called Mom and begged her to come home. She said she'd try. I sat on the couch all day, every light in the house on, baseball bat in my lap. When she got there, I showed her the video. She didn't say anything for a full minute. Then she said, "Go to the neighbors." Now, the police came. They searched the ducts, the crawl space under the house, and the attic. And they found him. A boy. Well, kind of. He was 16, but looked 10. Malnourished. Filthy. Clothes shredded. Said his name was Eli. He'd been living in the walls for weeks. According to police, his mom used to live in the house years ago. She died. He ran away from foster care and somehow found his way back, crawling into the house through a broken exterior vent in the backyard. He knew the layout, knew how to move without making noise, and knew how to stay hidden. When they asked him why he did it, he just smiled and said, "I wanted to be part of the family again. That vent is gone now. Mom moved us 2 months later, but sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, and I swear I can hear it. Scrape, scrape, scratch, coming from the walls, like something waiting to crawl out again." I always thought I was smart about safety. Living alone for the first time, you have to be. I was 22, fresh out of college, working a marketing job in Austin. My apartment wasn't fancy, but it was mine, a little second-story unit on the edge of Hyde Park. Quiet, cozy, safe. That's what I kept telling myself, even when I knew it wasn't. It started with knocks, not the polite kind. I'm talking aggressive, pounding, middle-of-the-night fists on wood. 3 nights in a row, always between 1 and 3 a.m. The first time, I thought maybe it was a drunk neighbor or some lost delivery driver, but I didn't answer, didn't even peek through the peephole, just laid in bed, frozen, phone in hand, trying to control my breathing. The knocking lasted maybe a minute, then silence, then slow footsteps walking away. The second night, I was ready. I stayed up, lights off, sitting on my couch with the blinds slightly open. 1:47 a.m. There was again. Bam, bam, bam. Louder this time, more urgent. I crept to the door, didn't speak, didn't breathe. Then a voice. "Austin PD, open up." Male, flat tone, no emotion. I froze. No lights, no sirens, no car outside. Just one man's voice in the dark, telling me to unlock my door. I didn't. Instead, I called 911 on speaker. They told me no officer was dispatched to my address. Told me to stay inside, lights off, and wait for a cruiser. I watched from my window as the man walked away. Black hoodie, jeans, no badge, no uniform, just vanished into the complex courtyard. When the real police arrived 10 minutes later, they searched the lot. Found nothing. No cameras on my side of the building. No footprints. Just the memory of that voice echoing in my head. They said it was probably a prank, or someone casing apartments, seeing who would open up. I had my locks changed anyway. Bought a new deadbolt, a door jammer, and one of those wedge alarms. I even put a chair under the doorknob when I slept. You might think that's paranoid, but I didn't grow up sheltered. My dad was a sheriff. He used to say, "The most dangerous person is the one pretending to be something they're not." I just didn't realize how true that was. Until the third night. It was raining. One of those loud Texas storms that rattles the windows and drowns out everything else. I'd fallen asleep on the couch again. TV still on. Half a bowl of popcorn in my lap. Something woke me. Not a knock. Not this time. It was the alarm wedge on the door. It was going off. That high-pitched screech that sounds like a fire alarm stuck inside a tin can. I jumped up and stared at the door. The chair had moved. The bottom lock was turned. But the deadbolt, thank God, was still in place. Someone had tried to open it. I ran to the bedroom and locked myself in. Called the cops again. Voice shaking. I kept repeating, "Someone try to come in." I didn't let them. The alarm scared them off. When the officers arrived, I opened the door with my keys still in hand. They checked the area, found fresh boot prints in the mud outside my stairs. But again, no one. They stayed a little while this time, told me to stay somewhere else for the night. I said no. I wasn't running, but I didn't sleep. Next day, I installed a camera above my door. Just one of those cheap stick-on ones with motion alerts and a little red light. Didn't even care if it worked. I just needed something that looked like it would watch him back. And yeah, by then, I was sure it was a him. Not plural, not random. One person. I didn't know why, didn't know how, but I knew he wanted in. For a week, it was quiet. I tried to go back to normal. Work, coffee, scroll through Netflix like the rest of the world wasn't terrifying. Then Friday came. I was in the kitchen making pasta when my phone pinged. Motion detected at front door. I opened the app, paused. The camera showed a tall man in a hoodie, standing directly in front of my door. Not moving, not knocking, just standing there. He stared straight at the lens. Then slowly, he leaned forward and smiled. I backed away from the screen. Then came the knock. This time, just one. Bang. Hard enough to rattle the door. And then, silence. No voice. No movement. He was waiting. I tiptoed to the peephole. He was still there. Closer now. He raised his hand and pointed at the lock. Then held up a key. I gasped. It looked like my key. Exactly like it. I didn't know how he got it. I didn't want to know. I backed away and ran to the bedroom again. Same routine. Locked in. Called the police. They took 15 minutes to arrive. 15 minutes of silence outside that door. When they got there, he was gone. Again. No key left behind. No fingerprints. Just muddy footprints and a smile on my camera. They asked if I'd given anyone a copy of my key. I hadn't. But I remember the maintenance guy. He'd come a month ago to fix a leak under the sink. I wasn't home. He had the master. Police questioned him, but he had an alibi. No evidence. No cause. They told me to break the lease, to get out while I could. So I did. It's been 2 years now. I moved to a new place across town. Better lighting. More people. More noise. But I still keep a wedge alarm under the door. Still check my camera every night. And sometimes, just sometimes, the app pings. Motion detected. And I see him. Not my door. Not close. Just there. Standing across the street. In the rain. Smiling.